Our series here tonight, our best of 5. Reynor, Neeb, Grand Finals ESL Open Cup number 58. It's fantastic to have you all here with us. I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's dive on into the games. As in the top left-hand side, we've got the blue Zerg player. Give it up if you're cheering on Reynor. Best of 5, of course, and you have in the bottom right, probe already moving across the map so early here on Submarine. It's Neeb in the bottom right from Ting. This probe is so early. This is like absolutely no way on earth am I gonna allow a hatchery to go down on this natural expansion. So apparently that is a thing as we move on over here. Moves down and obviously sees this, and yeah, I mean, Reynor's like, well, I mean, if you've got a probe here this early, the thing is, it's Submarine as well, right? You can get a probe across Submarine pretty quickly anyway. Reynor's going to patrol. He's not going to commit yet because he's gone pool first. So when you go pool first, you would like to get the hatchery on the natural. The plan is here, you keep the drone nearby, and the moment this probe moves up to the high ground to check there is indeed, you know, not a 12 pool or whatever, that's when this drone is going to be able to get onto the nat. But he actually, Neeb does not fall for it. He actually, okay, he moves now. Just as Reynor is moving to the right side, finally Reynor can put this down, but it's over 100 minerals late. So he really delayed this to be able to get this hatchery on the natural. So overall, Neeb still wins. He waited as long as possible before going up into the main to double check. And this did just cause Reynor to wait that little bit longer, so definitely helps him out a little bit extra there for sure. Definitely helping as you have the probe back to the center. Nexus is down on the natural. Cybercore is coming up. I'm just going to be seeing our Queen building in the main base as our single probe. Again, goes on a bit of a runaway mission. Out down away to the bottom right-hand side. Lings will make their way across. There's nothing in the wall just yet, so this probe will have to complete the wall off, and that gives the Lings a chance to maybe nibble through this building gateway. I imagine that's going to be their best bet at getting some kind of damage done here, but only 4 Lings able to kind of reach it, so not a lot you can really do. Sorry, he's actually got 5 Lings right now, so that's actually pretty reasonable. And that will pop out, though. Is it worth losing Lings for? Absolutely not. Maybe he can up the wall for later in the game. Is that likely, like I said, to really mean anything? Probably not, honestly, but again, as is life. Sometimes, I mean, you gotta take it, right? You never know which game it is gonna make a difference. Having a little bit less HP on that wall, Lings might counter-attack and break through or something along those lines. You never know. As the few Lings of Reynor pull back to the upper left, Ling speed is coming up on the spawning pool, so that's already starting. The other Lings down on the natural. Third hatchery setting up on the top side here as well. Starcraft finishes up. First Void Ray of the series is on the way out, and I'm assuming that is going to be the first of many, many Void Rays we're going to see here today. The 2 adepts make their way through into the natural, and the Lings and jive towards the main base there for a moment. Not ideal. And now these adepts in a good position, and actually picking off 2 drones, a couple of Lings. 1 adept will go down. The adept shit is into the main, so they will go for 1 more drone kill. Snake at 2. 4 workers killed. Fantastic setup from Neeb. It was a massive worker pull as well. They have 5 workers. Fantastic stuff. Really, really awesome. 5 workers killed. So now he's got our Oracle about halfway done here from Neeb. Just going to be seeing the couple Queens moving down. Warp Gate is going to be finishing soon. And our 3rd Nexus of Neeb setting up as well. Out down on this bonus side. The 3rd Nexus coming up. Stargate builds. The 2nd Stargate, that is, in the main base now. Darlings of Reynor just going to go looping around the bottom side of the map. Well, I am very interested to see what Reynor brings to the, the anti-Stargate parade. Especially on Submarine. A smaller map, really easy rush distance, right? If there's a map where you get aggressive against this with like a Queen Walk or so, it's this, or it's Lightshade, right? These are the go-to maps for it, and we see a Lair, we see a Rotron. So the question really is it going to be that? Is he actually going to commit to it, or is he going to try and play something with a little bit more of a macro focus? Love that one. Ling goes in to absorb the stasis ward, better than getting a drone caught in there, of course. A Ling caught in stasis doesn't exactly lose out on much, whereas a drone loses out on mining time. Another attempt at stasis up here, but the Lings are on it immediately. So Neeb's attempted stasis is shut down without a moment to think about it. Now this Oracle continues out down the bottom side. So Oracle getting pushed through the center. That's still coming up. A couple of Voids are coming in. They're going to rally out to the front as well. Forge and the Twilight on the follow-up, so we're ready for the next step of this. Neeb looking as though he's one of these kind of more regular into Storm setups rather than the into Disruptors, which is definitely, into the Storm is definitely the more popular way of doing this, but we have seen a fair amount of into, players going into Disruptors lately. There's definitely been a few players who really prefer that way of playing it. Void show up for the first time, and Reynor is ready for it. Arrives with the Queens. Pushes those back. 67 workers. Roach, Queen, production. Creep spread is making good progress through the middle of the map. Just as I say that, we come in here and we deny it with the Void Rays. This is big. I mean, the more you deny that creep, the slower it's going to be to advance across the map and to get this attack going. It's going to replace a couple of these tumors, and yeah, look how far forward you already are, though. These Queens are already in the middle of the map. That's how quickly they move on Submarine, because it is, again, shortest rush distance out there right now. Queen gets picked off, and this isn't good. Losing 2 Queens in the middle of the map. Neeb is just going to capitalize. I mean, if Void Rate goes down, but that's 3 Queens. If this is really intended to become aggressive, I mean, I don't know. I definitely think it's going to be favoring Neeb, right? He's going to lose 1 more Void Ray, but he's getting rid of all of the Queens. Every Queen that's going down, I mean, now you don't have any real anti-air, so this Roach Ravager force, what are you going to do? Retreat away? Remember, you cut drones to try and make this fight happen, so I mean, now what? You're going to bring a few more Queens out to the center? What was lost here? 7 Queens in the game against the 4 Void Rays. Like, don't get me wrong, 4 Void Rays is a pretty sizable number as well. Just what is left over, 6 Voids against 5 Queens. Well, I definitely picked the Void Rays in that fight. Especially considering the Queens that are out now are the newer Queens, so they don't have as much energy banked up. Then get rid of the Robo facility. Super Battery doesn't save that, as the Voids were kind of out of position this time for the Roaches and Ravagers to run in toward the 3rd base. Super Battery lasts quite a while, though, gets a lot of healing off, and now the Voids are here to push the Ravagers out. They will be pushed back through to the middle of the map. More Ravagers morphing the army of Reynor. Looking for a little bit of an attack forward here. Pylon is up as some Zealots wolf through. Ravager Biles to force a couple of the Stalkers away. Another couple of Biles going down. Void still taking some hits. Actually loses out on one of them. The cannon goes down also. I'm just going to be seeing our Ravagers continuing through this. So again, doing pretty well as we see another gateway dropping. Continue through a few more Biles. Stalkers in some trouble here for sure. And just going to be seeing our Voids are not really holding out very well. I gotta say, they're not close to the batteries on the right side. In the end, Reynor's gonna make this attack work. I'm genuinely kind of in awe at this because he was not in a good place at all. I did not like that middle of... Like, this looks great for Neeb. And what goes so wrong? The Voids just kind of eat some Biles. They go to the bottom side. I don't like that either because then they're away from the batteries and he just didn't have the setup to continue fighting that. On something as we dive into game number 2 in the bottom right hand side. He's got the 1-0 lead. Our blue Zerg player is Reynor. Top left. Our red Protoss player from Ting. It is Neeb. You know, I look back, and this is what I was kind of thinking about just then and looking back on. I was just looking back on the Queens and the Void Ray fighting. 7 Queens, 4 Void Rays. See, like, I get it, because the Void Rays are so much more than just to fight the queens, right? The Void Rays are basically the entirety of your defense, right? And that's the thing, right? The Void Rays are so much more than just to fight the queens. I think that's where, like, in my mind, those Void Rays taking down queens, I'm like, well, this stops the attack. But it doesn't, because the Void's going down really means the Roach Ravager doesn't die as quickly, and so you can still overwhelm, right? You can still overwhelm the Roach Ravager count with the Roach Ravager count, and the Voids just don't get kills. And there was new queens showing up. Yeah, I really feel like that was a really hard trade to call for me. I get it, like, it's just queens, it's just minerals, but again, it felt like you were meant to have the queens to make this attack a success. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one for sure. Just reminiscing on game number 1 a little bit, guys. We enter game number 2 here. It is Romanticide as our map of choice. Big macro map, obviously one that can absolutely go to the later stages, play out much later on in general. Cybercore building on the front, Nexus on the natural, and well, I mean, to me, as I talked a bit about this when it was Reynor and Gungfu, but to me, this is the map where you're meant to see the Protoss player probably just go into faster carriers, right? You can go into double Stargate Void and just be a little bit greedier on the ground army. You don't have to go as much into it before you go into the Void, into the carrier switch, because the bases you take here are very safe. And you know, I say that, and then you go back and you think about how Reynor just ran Gungfu in circles with pure Link Queen, but that was very much so a case of Reynor getting things out of hand. I really don't think Neeb lets the game get into that sort of situation early on. Stargate on the way up here. Reynor, obviously, he came 4th place, sorry, not 4th place, 2nd place last week in the ESL Open Cup, looking for his chance to pick up a win in this off-season of ESL Open Cups. I'm kind of sad that Liquipedia has everything separated right now, but he has won 7 of these cups before. He's looking to actually tie up with Clem and Showtime. I actually think what Reynor has done in these cups is very impressive. I know we talk about Hero Marine and his crazy wins and stuff, but I would love if someone went through and actually found the percentages of the amount of cups played versus wins, because I think Reynor must have won. I know Hero Marine was on track for 50% at one point, but that definitely fell away from him. I think Reynor has played in much fewer events than Clem and Showtime and Hero Marine. I think if you add them up, I think Reynor must be about like a 50% win rate in these cups. Obviously, that's, you know, that's kind of what Hero Marine did when they played in, you know, when he played in the low amount as well. So there's a few things to keep in mind in that regard. But I would love to see the stats on that kind of laid out. Maybe I'll do some research on it, because it's the kind of thing which I look at, I'm like, wow, that's, you know, it's impressive that every time Reynor plays, he shows up to such a high level, you know? Oracle shows up, is going to take a few shots. Our Void Ray is coming up. The second Stargate is building, so looks like we know where this is headed. I mean, again, no surprises just yet. Are we going to see it start to go in any kind of different direction as this progresses through? Again, I don't really personally think so, but surprise me, Neeb. Surprise me. Let's see what Reynor's approach is going to be as well, right? This time you can already see the difference, though. 4 extra gases, the lair coming up. Sorry, 5 extra gases. So all 6 gas coming online. Lair on the way. No sign of a Roach Roar, and obviously this is going to be straight to Hydras and +1 missiles. And from there, you can obviously still play into Lurkers as well if you would like to, so there's definitely some options in that. I think it's going to run around Reynor picking up information here and there and wherever else is possible. Bring us back around down the right. Twilight Council, Forge coming up into the main. Again, just a couple of voids coming through the center. Another void as well. And all of these settling down as our single Zergling. Makes its way up to the top. It's going to get picked away at. It's a good Voidray count, making its way down south. Spire's coming through on the natural. Again, there's that fourth hatchery coming in. Spire has a very different way of playing against this, right? I don't usually like the Spire setups against this. I actually usually look at the Spire and I'm like, well, you know, when you put the Spire into play in these sort of scenarios, it, to me, really doesn't play out well. So my reasoning is, it's like, what do you build? If you build mutas, the Voidray count is pretty good at slowing the mutas down at first anyway, until you get to a much higher muta count, at which point the Protoss have plenty of time to build Phoenix. And on the other side, you build Corruptors. Well, welcome to the Voidray world, where they are just going to melt every single Corruptor that you build. So what do you actually do off the Stargate that's going to be successful? I think you've got to go mutas. And if you're going to go mutas, you've got to really overwhelm. You've got to really overpower, and you've got to keep this hidden as long as possible. So it's really good that he's keeping these voids at bay, because they're not only not getting into the bases to pick up info, they're not out the front picking up info on what other units are around and what other units are not around, right? That's all very important information. The voids are going to recall out. That's a really good move. The sooner you get those void rays out of there, means you can't lose one or two of them initially, so it gives the mutas way less opportunity to make something happen. I think Reynor's going to catch a little bit of a break here. The fact there's only 6 void rays, you know, consider this could be 8 and still building more, right? Instead, it's 6. And okay, Archons are going to start coming into play as well. They are good against mutas too. Don't get me wrong. But those Archons are way less mobile than the void rays will be in this defense versus the mutas. So Reynor just going to find this army middle of the map. Well, remember that we did just see the recall used. So that's going to be the first void ray dead. He's going to get 2. Now you got to start a Phoenix production immediately. But now the mutas have got the chance to get in here and deny these Stargates from building. And that's going to be the power of this. Okay, these voids are going to go down. So the problem is right now, the Phoenix, because there's only going to be 2 of them, the mutas don't really care about 2 Phoenix at all. So they're not really worried about that. The door finally gets busted open. We do see an attack across the map. Lings, well, not exactly ideal against Zealot Archon. There's no Banes or anything here. Hydra's coming through. He's starting to build Roaches, realizing the situation he's in and what he needs to deal with this. He's killing a lot of probes. Can the Roach count get high enough to deal with this? I mean, these Archons are still looking unkillable at the moment as Neeb pushes through. He's taking a lot of work and damage. The muta count going down, by the way, across the map as they fight Phoenix and mutas and Stalkers and all sorts. Another warp in a Zealots. 15 more Roaches in production. Can Reynor hang in over here with the 88 to 48 worker count? So Flustered on the ramp. I mean, he's going to start losing a lot of drones here soon. I think there's the mutas that remain come home, and they're just going to focus on the few Zealots that are on their own away from the Archons. This is not a lot of anti-air. If you can just... Okay, I mean, it's 2 more sentries. If you can just find a couple of the Archon kills, mutas would overwhelm in the end. Overlord's going down. Corrosive Bile is now available to get out of this base with the Biles. And break on down here. Again, it's just a bit of a problem as these Zealots move on through. And the way Reynor wants to use this ramp to his advantage is the Stalkers from across the map now going to end up reinforcing here. Reynor is still building a lot of Roaches, a lot of Ravages, but will it ever trade well enough against this? Couple Corrosive Biles come down. Neeb splits. Sentry or 2 falling. Force field still being an issue. These Archons are starting to disappear, and without that splash damage, I do feel this becomes way more problematic for Neeb, trying to keep this attack rolling, but the army supplies are in favor of Neeb now. Is there a way? The Archons go down, but the Zealots might just be a bit too strong. Again, Reynor's supply continuing to struggle. So much of it is just stuck in the form of drones that can't provide enough economy because you're losing bases. They're running around silly. They've not been mining throughout this. Still 40 to 40 army supply. I mean, it's still neck and neck, honestly. Few more Biles coming down. I mean, more drones continue to tank. The worker count continues to drop. We're now equal on the workers in the game. It means that Neeb has an overall supply lead. And it's good enough for Neeb to take game number 2. Reynor just needed to be a bit more effective with the mutas across the map. I wonder what happens if in that game number 2, Reynor, he started to make some Hydras. What if he just made Roaches from the very start? It felt like he was just not ready for that army to show up, and it felt like he almost believed he could get Hydras out, and obviously that's a bit of money invested that never went anywhere. Hydras did nothing in that case, right? So what if you went the other way around? What if you just gone straight at Roaches? Would that have made such a big difference? It might have done, right? Because, I mean, it was not a quick breakthrough for Neeb at all. He had to break through that ramp, and if there's just a few roaches with those queens, I could absolutely be a believer in that one for sure. Absolutely. Game 3, guys, as we obviously set up here. I mean, you guys know the players. It is that hatch block, so we will see Reynor taking the hatch off to the side this time, into the gas pool after. So the first minute or so summarized there. Only probe to guarantee that block once the game. We're on Oxide. I mean, you go from Ramanda's side again, one of the larger maps, one of the maps that's likely to go on a little while longer. And now here you've got a bit of a different setup over on this side, I guess, as we have Oxide generally not one to go on for quite as long as the last map. Definitely a map where you've got a limited amount of bases, so this is not your late game map. This is not the... This is absolutely, if you get to carries and stuff, you're probably in a really good position. Also than anything else. Cybercore finishes, a couple of queens and drones on the way out at the moment. Zerging speed on the spawning pool, and the probe pulling away from the top side, 12 o'clock position, so pulling that back down. As the Nexus sets up on the natural probe of Neeb coming across. And the Stargate of Neeb sets up in the main base, just getting that ready to roll here. No real surprises on that one, is there? Shock horror. No, guys, they're building Stargates. We're gonna see Void Rays again. Who knew? Who knew? Stargate is going to rally out. We do see the couple of adepts joining up from Neeb. It's going to be seeing them pulling up towards the top side. Aim for that third hatch. Was it last game that Neeb took down like 4 drones in the worker pool? Was that the game before? I can't even remember. I think it was the game before, wasn't it, on Submarine? I actually have no idea now. Anyway, these adepts are dangerous and they move around, but well moved on the units of Reynor, and he stops the adepts from finding an opportunity to get in there for anything. So well handled, as we do see the couple of queens continuing in. The Oracle is building from Neeb in the main base. So an Oracle to start. I wonder if at any point we do switch away from the double Stargate Void, right? I mean, again, it's working to some extent. There's obviously a few different ways you can play double Stargate Void. Is this going to be one of those times where you look at that and you go for it? Well, let's find out. Second Stargate, right on cue. Boom. Yeah, I mean, it's actually worth mentioning as well what happened last game, by the way, I think. So last game, Neeb only went to 6 Void Rays, right? And it's something which is kind of funny, because to me that actually opened the way for the Mutalisks to be a little bit more effective. But it also meant that the ground counterattack was that much stronger because you were into Archons and more of them that much more quickly because you didn't build up to 8 Void Rays. And I wonder if that was maybe part of the reason why Reynor was caught a bit off guard, that he just didn't quite pick up on the numbers there and just how much was on that ground force. You know what I mean? The 6 Void Rays is kind of really the lowest end of Void Rays you're ever going to build off double Stargates. And in a way, it felt like maybe he knew that Neeb liked to do that, and hence why he went for the Spire, because I really don't like the Spire most of the time. I'd say 6 Void Rays is probably one of the best case scenarios you get playing against double Stargate Void when you go Spire, so... Just gonna be seeing the fueling setting up on the top side. The Oracle is gonna make its way around to the upper side. Drops a Revelation in, +1 missiles is already building up here on the natural, and a couple of drones are continuing through. Extractors are all on the way, so we go to 6 gases, but this time obviously with +1 missiles and roach speed already coming through. A very different scenario to what we had last time, and from Neeb as well. So we're going to see that Robo Bay. I mentioned that some players are enjoying playing the Void Rays into Disruptors. It looks like this is going to be one of those situations too. So yeah, Neeb going to switch it up from game to game, playing a different style, playing a different follow-up, and that's obviously good as well, right? You know, you're playing the same opening, but the more you can change up the same opening, the better that's going to be for you in terms of keeping your opponent guessing, keeping your opponent on edge. You know, those things have a huge role to play. Void's coming up. We do have a couple of queens coming in, and Void actually going to get an overload though. Nice little bit of movement. There is more voids this time around. I think you need to go more voids if you're going to go disruptors. This is a Spire again though from Reynor. Yeah, I'm super intrigued that he's bringing out the Spire so frequently against these Void Ray setups. I want it to work. I want him to show me the way because again, my experience watching players play Spire against this is not a pretty one. That's why I was a bit of a doubter in game number 2. And it's why I will be a doubter again here this time around. I mean, again, last game, it did kind of work. I would say the Spire was not the part of that game that fell apart. But coming through is going to go over for the rocks, and you have the Queen Slings poking their way through the center. As 12 meters come in, it's going to be a weird attack, isn't it? It's going to be like Muta, Queen. I mean, it's 81 drones, so it's not like all in or anything, but you got Queens in a pretty far forward position. You got Roaches spamming out. It definitely feels aggressive. Void Steps, Mortal coming through. A couple of Disruptor shots going to line up. First Disruptor shot lands well. I mean, never fun being aggressive into Disruptors, right? And this is kind of why, because you're basically always going to be taking damage. The Mutas show up in the natural at the same time, though, and once again, Neeb is not ready for it immediately. You know, he's only just now going to start building the Phoenix. I think when the Voids to try and chase that back. 16 workers down to begin with. I mean, a lot of the Mutas go down already, and now we see the transition setting up. Infestation Pit, Hydralisk Den on the way in the back of this main base. He has come back through to the center, and just going to see the Roaches make their way down his left side as well. Mutas are going to go, and bottom right side going to find a probe pylon that can absolutely go down as well. So the Roaches trying to find positions, right? But I mean, again, they're Roaches against Void Rays, Immortals, the Disruptors too. I mean, they just feels difficult to really find a way in. Now the Phoenix are going to respond to the bottom right. Looks like they will be able to defend against the Mutas rather easily. And yep, this Mutas are going to go down. So it's kind of just the end of the Mutalist in a game. Was it worth it for 20 workers? You force a few Phoenix, okay, but yeah, Phoenix kind of have value anyway. I'm going to say it really wasn't. You do kill that base bottom right, so that's good. Obviously, there is more to it than just straight up what was killed here initially. As Neeb finds some decent disruptor shots. I think Neeb's going to go. He's building carriers, but I feel like he's had a good couple of fights. He's cleaned out some good stuff. Oh, he backs away. I kind of get it, right? I mean, you look at what there is, and it is very flimsy. You know, if the disruptors don't connect, then it's very easy to get this army overrun, and then you kind of regret never moving out. When you're on the way toward carriers, right? Essentially, your position in this game should only ever get better when you're playing carriers. Of course, Reynor's position improves as well as he starts 5 Vipers, so he's already looking at ways to deal with this carrier count. So, of course, no surprise that Reynor is, you know, a step ahead himself and knows where he's headed to. As long as actually getting a couple cancels and being annoying, but not much more than that. Evolution Chamber is all building in the natural again. Those Vipers going to start consuming up the hive and the Nat as well. Void's going to move in, take down the right side hatchery. Pick that off. I'm just going to be seeing the Broodlings Continue to move through, continue to nibble. Hydra's away down the bottom side. The Queen's off to the right and just going to be seeing this Hydra Force. I mean, to me, the problem is I see the Vipers, sure. I mean, I guess so much of this just comes down to the Vipers. In fairness, there's no... I mean, this is not a world in which you're playing with High Templars. You don't have feedbacks to get rid of them. As like bombs come down, the disruptor shots were a bit of a mess, right? I mean, everything just kind of clashed in together there. Reynor abducted whichever disruptors he could find, but obviously there were some that went off. Now you're going to have this position where I do feel like this air army can become overwhelming again. There's a good amount of Queens here, and the Void Rays do not have a lot of shields on them, but the disruptor going in towards the Queens, just the extra little bit of help to chug through that Queen energy and the health bars, so, and then obviously hence the transfusions, hence the energy. Anything to help through that really is going to offset the ability of these Queens to fight, and it just gives these carriers a better chance of really moving through. This is a waste of interceptors, unfortunately. This carrier was just not meant to be here. 14 Corruptors on the way. I guess it's worth mentioning that Reynor's economy really is well set, right? He has all 6 bases that are meant to be yours on Oxide. So he is going to be able to rebuild into Corruptors, and if you get up to that Corruptor count that starts to one-shot down Void Rays, the micro you can apply then is obviously very substantial. You get in, you one-shot carry, you back away. You get in, you one-shot carry, you back away. You never really have to sit in the Void Ray damage. So if we start getting to that point here from Reynor, that's when I will worry a little bit more for Neeb, and maybe we are kind of already getting towards that point. There's going to be an abduct in on a disruptor to begin with. It goes down. Now an abduct in on the carrier. It goes down. Parasitic bomb onto the Void. Carrier still taking some shots. I'm just trying to help out. I mean, honestly, this is such a weird fight. It feels like it's going so many different ways. Actually, wouldn't mind if these Corruptors had just gotten rid of the Void Rays, because they were all low HP. They would have been easy to get rid of. As you see right now, he gets rid of them. Just maybe could have saved a few more Corruptors with target fire there a little sooner. Reynor has the numbers. Reynor's pushing through. Reynor is going to take this 2-1 lead. There's just not enough stuff here right now, unfortunately, for Neeb to hold on. Really interesting games. Very different dynamic to the usual 2 Stargate Void Ray stuff we're seeing. Reynor coming in with a very different style, a very different approach. And I'm honestly a fan of it. I feel like the positions he gets in are kind of weird. I'm like, ooh, is this working at all? And then he finds a way. And Neeb is very good at these sort of styles as well. Like, this is, to me, this is a meta where Neeb should really dominate. And like, if I had to pick like a meta where Neeb has been good in the last 2 years, I'd probably say this one. You know, like, it really plays towards Neeb's playstyle. It really gets him to positions he's comfortable in. But right now, Reynor is standing up strong against it. 2-1 lead. Obviously, series not over yet, but it's Reynor in the bottom left. Da, 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 da. He's leading 2-1. Fighting against Neeb, who doesn't get a song because I only have so much craziness inside of me. Well, Neeb sends out his probe for the hatch block, as we have seen many a time so far in this series. Are you guys ready for another void opening? Asks Division SC in the chat. Oh boy, you betcha I am. Maybe there's a world in which you switch it up here as Neeb. I think it'll be a void ray into something if he, like, void into glaives if he switches it up, but yeah. Man, it's a rough rough day in the office for Neeb trying to get into these longer games. Reynor's just been a little bit too good at stopping him getting there. If we see double Stargate Void again, here's my question to you guys. If we see double Stargate Void again, do we see Reynor play Aspire again? Because that would be really mental. Like, if that is just his way of playing against this now, then I'm just like, whoa. Like, how do we get... Like, that just comes out of nowhere, you know? I'm intrigued. The series has me interested. Honestly, I am the first to stand up and say that PvZ is not my most favorite of matchups, and especially when like a a stale Void Ray meta comes around, I'm definitely not the first to shout and scream and be like, "Oh yeah, you know, let's cast this. I'm loving this." But this series really has been one of the better ones with in recent PvZ memory. We gotta catch this so far today. As circling speed of Reynor sets up over on the main base. Just gonna be seeing a few lings hanging around on the bottom side of the map, and just seeing how Ovi is making its way around the upper right as well. So far, so good. Stargate coming up, and ling speed on the way out. Yeah, nothing to really scream and shout about just yet. Ling tries to sneak in, tries to pick up the info early without risking the Overlord. Obviously, the Adept says, no, not letting that happen at all. So refuses to let that one in. Yeah, just bringing this Void Ray up again. Wolf gets about halfway done at the moment. I mean, we know how this looks for the first few minutes. There's only so much I can talk about in that regard. You know, to that extent, I am kind of talked out, I guess, of this early game just a little bit. Set up the third base, get the second Stargate going. Again, we know how this goes. I guess you look at, you know, on the side of Reynor and you kind of consider, okay, well, what's he gonna do? It's no early Evo Chamber, it's no early melee upgrade at least. Jagannathar is a bit of a shorter map, guys. It's one that you don't immediately think is very short. I mean, I know it got kind of a reputation for being a little bit of a large map and being like, oh, Zergs, you're really good on this map, but it wasn't ever because of the rush distance. So it is one of these maps where a walk across with queens can absolutely be viable as well. So don't count that out at all. Keep that one in mind as the Oracle shows up, and it is going to be 2 drones dead. Avoid Oracle second Void. And are you guys ready? I'm going to click my fingers and boom, a second Stargate appears. Hang on, stream delay. My click of my fingers has to go all the way through to North America. All the way over to Neeb. And oh my god, it's not a second Stargate. I jinxed it. Oh god, I'm so rubbish at magic tricks, guys. I'm terrible. I accidentally summoned a Forge and a Twilight Council instead. That is a switch up though, isn't it? So he's making more Voids. It makes it look like this is double Stargate Void Ray, but then it's in fact going to be that faster +1, maybe Blink? If not Blink, into Charge, and obviously Temple Archives, maybe you go Storm, maybe you have some other options. Stasis Ward building in the back. One drone will give its life. No, not its life, but its time to soak that up. Yeah, okay, well, it's kind of on Reynor then to figure out that Neeb is not, in fact, going into this real quick, you know, double Stargate setup, and in fact going into this faster kind of Twilight build. Again, it's going to be Charge, so I'm not too surprised about that instead of Blink. I think you can play Blink off this, but Charge is just overall probably a little bit safer and better. A little bit more kind of all, you know, catch everything, deal with everything. Like these 3 Voids, you really don't want to let those do too much. They already get to kill an Overlord here. The more you let these Void Rays do, the worse it's going to be for you as Reynor, because it's only 3 of them, right? It's really not that committed in that regard. Baneling Nest gets started. He's going to need Banelings to deal with these Zealots, of course, so nice to see the Bane Nest is on the way. That should give him plenty of time to make progress on the Baneling speed, so I think he's going to be heading in the right direction when it comes to that one. Woods pull away to the top side. The couple of sentries and Adept picking off a Zergling. Templar guy is going to be finishing. Baneling Net's going to be done soon. Hydra's on the way out. All of these rallying out across to the right-hand side. And again, needs to stop Bane speed right away. Like, you just don't want to miss out on Bane speed here. It's going to be big to help you shut down the Zealots. roll in towards the positions you want to be in. And of course, with this setup, we're going to start seeing some run-bys very soon. Reynor can get aggressive, can set up the banelings and towards a few different bases, try and bust on through and find some openings. Actually, some Hydras in the middle of the map kind of getting caught. They're kind of in a bit of an odd spot, aren't they? These Hydras just moving around the center. Here comes Neeb. Bane speed is, what, 40 seconds away? Bane speed isn't essential for the first round of this attack. Bane speed is more of a, like, being able to flank, relocate sort of thing. I love this Prism plane to the main, though. It's actually double Prism on the map, so it really obviously opens up the aggressive opportunities. This army on this low ground is getting destroyed, though. However, he is actually able to back away without losing too much. That's massive sentries right now coming into the main. There is no way to stop these sentries. You don't have biles or anything to get rid of force fields, so this is going to be a pretty major play, right? I mean, you are stuck out of your main base at the moment. These Zealots need to stop derping forward because they're not going to do anything. Force field doesn't exactly help those out. Spawning pool goes down. Reynor's in trouble in this main base. Neeb making a hell of a play here. Oh, wow. This is really... I mean, this started off so well. I love this fight for Reynor on the top side, but Neeb got away without losing too much of that. I think that was real important to begin with, honestly. Can you ever get back into your main base? Again, that's just the position that you control right now is Neeb, and well set up attack, and here's me talking about Bane speed and all of this and that and all the rest of it, and never really even came into play, did it? We're going to see a fight here now. It's just not even the Baneling count here, is there? Remember, you can't actually spend your, you can't even rebuild into Zerglings just yet. 21 drones down. Can Reynor somehow find a way to survive? He's going to start picking away a couple of these Zealots. He does have a lot of Hydras, but the Banes go off on the Archons. Now you've got no way to push through the Zealots. It's pure Hydra production. I just don't really see it. I mean, he is actually starting to get a lot of these Zealots, so maybe I should start to open my eyes a little bit. And look, but it is still 3 base against a 4 base. Protoss is still a spawning pool that's not in place, so we're still so far off away from Ling Bane again. Being down a base is obviously absolutely brutal at the moment. Storm is coming up. That's building in the main. +2 attack is halfway done. A couple of assimilators coming through. Stasis ward sets up down the low ground on that ramp. Obviously, I feel like backing away, rebuilding should favor Neeb here. I mean, remember, he's got Storm coming up as well, and he just has the economy, which I imagine is going to be really the one that's able to rebuild into something more useful here. Like, yeah, Reynor's on his way to Lurkers. Will he get enough of those up and running? Well, he will not even get to start building Lurkers right now. Still only Hydras in this army. Equal army supplies going into this fight, and it kind of looks as though Neeb is going to be able to push on through. Storm's dropping down. Can the Hydras make something of this? No Zealots, no reinforcements. And Neeb is going to end up being pushed away from this. I mean, Hydra's going to give chase. You can see those couple of High Templar going to morph into an Archon. I'm not even sure if I like that. If they ran as High Templar, would they not have gone away? I guess not. Zealots are going to come through the bottom side, so there are some units that warped in from Neeb, and he is going to get a hatchery for it. So Reynor needs some. He's getting Lurkers up. He needs to get these Lurkers into like a hyper defensive position. He just needs to try and turtle up, but it's still not going to be pretty against the Zerg on Protoss on 4 bases. Obviously, the hope is that you can maybe just trade extremely well against this round of Zealots, and maybe that can offset what Neeb can do, and maybe then you survive long enough to get a base back up and get back on track. But that's a plan that has a lot of moving pieces to it, so it is not exactly ideal. Things on the counterattack, getting stasis. I mean, there's the rebuild from Reynor, down 30 supply. He just says, cool, in this kind of position, we know what we do. Double Stargated up. More Stargates, Fleet Beacon, get the carriers going. Get into that late game army comp. There is no better way to break a defensive Zerg down than just getting carriers, because if the Zerg can't match the economy, which he's not going to be able to because he's going to be playing super defensively. Well, we know kind of how that goes at the end, right? Exciting again, a game 5 tonight, everyone. There we go in the distance. Reynor is going to bring lurkers across the map. I mean, don't curse it too soon, Wardy. There is a possibility that Neeb completely screws up this engagement. He has the revelation on these lurkers, though, so it's not like he's going to be caught off guard or anything. Zealot's already heading down here. This base is going to die again. Zealot's in the main unanswered. Lings will find cannons over here, I guess. These lurkers get burrowed up. No adaptive talents, so it takes them a while to burrow, but they will get burrowed and they will fight this off. The problem is you're taking damage elsewhere at the same time, though in fairness, the Zealots in the main base get handled very well. The Zealots on the bottom side is just not really a good way to answer those. Again, adaptive talents would be a bit of a game changer. So would seismic spines, extra lurker range, right? You just don't have a hive, so you don't have the hive upgrades for the lurkers. Ling's going to force the storms on top of the army, and again, Reynor is taking some better fights than Neeb, and that's why he's hanging on in here by the skin of his teeth. Some Banes are going to try and show up for some pros, but Reynor is going to be figured out, and Neeb is not going to fall for that trick. There's no +2 melee or anything, so even though he gets a connection, it's only 3 probes going down. Very manageable. Is tell you what though, that army of Neeb is out in the far bottom right corner, and Reynor launches a counterattack. Neeb's out of position if Reynor can get in to the top side. Like, this is a lot of lurkers. The carriers, they are not. Okay, sorry, there are 3 carriers out. That's probably just game then, right? 3 carriers out. Yeah. Jeez. For a moment I was kind of excited because it's like, well, wait a second. Neeb's army's out of position bottom right. The carriers aren't here because I saw where they were in production, but no, there was. Pillars of Gold to wrap us up as well. I mean, really leaves anything out on the table. So many possibilities, I think, as in the bottom left, our Blue Zerg player still hasn't really come out with, I guess on Submarine came out with a whole big aggressive push, right? But that was kind of about all. Other than that, he's been playing a bit more of a macro focus. It's Reynor, bottom left side from Clash. As in the upper right, we have the red Protoss player, Neeb. Switched it away from the double Stargate that last game. Changed it up a little bit. And I like that. I definitely feel like, because, you know, Reynor was playing like it was double Stargate Void Ray, right? He didn't get confirmation there was no second Stargate for a while. I don't think that was a bad thing necessarily with what he was doing, the way he built that game. It worked out. But definitely something you want to be a little bit thoughtful of in other scenarios. Oh, whoa. Okay, well, hold the frick up a second, guys. Nexus first into a forge. Just let me check the date. It is 2021 and not 2012, right? I mean, the acronym FFE, Forge Fast Expand, is one you do not really use any longer. It has been a long time since the Forge Fast Expand was a thing, and here it is, a Nexus first into Forge. So, the interesting part of this is now we're going to start cannon rushing across the map and putting some pressure down when it's still a very eco-focused build out of Neeb. Okay. Obviously, gateway is down, Cybercore starts. Well, Reynor doesn't have a way to deny these cannons, so these cannons are going to get up. Right? I mean, they're about to finish up. Lings are going to start going across the map, but the... Okay, cannon didn't start over here yet, but then there's a Zealot on the way. Does Reynor just lose this hatchery? I don't think he can get enough stuff up to fight this, because especially the cannons being walled in behind here, I think it's very hard to get to them to really make much of a difference there. Next is Chrono Boosting, just going to be seeing the cannons firing, and again, Hatchery taking a bunch of damage. Lings move up. That's a wall off, right? I mean, there's a Zealot there. I don't see what you really do about that. Yeah, I mean, this base is just going to go down. Remember, this is like a 400 mineral investment to remove the, the hatchery. So I kind of like it. If you get this drone kill, target fire, could have had that. So the drone kind of moved badly in general. As this queen is trying to find the sweet spot. No! That was risky. Alright, well, Stargate on the follow-up here, but I like it for Neeb. You get rid of the hatch, you put kind of Reynor down at 2 bases when maybe you wanted to be at 3. I like that a lot. I was just going to be seeing the other Zerglings making their way down the bottom. Overlord through the top, a few drones on the way in. Zergling speed is about to finish up from Reynor. That's where we stand. Spine comes out the front as Reynor is still 2 base here. I guess he's going to spine to break down this pylon. He's still just going to take the 3rd hatchery here, but that's a very delayed 3rd hatch at this stage. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't just go elsewhere for it. He's droning up. Obviously, he's saturating the 2 bases that he owns. You know, honestly, the next best thing to do is to build a hatchery, right? But again, just going to take him a little while longer to get through here to properly take down this pylon and open up this pathway. Voidray Corner Boost now is going to go rallying towards this Overlord. So Voidray pops, just going to move through and is going to go and clean that out. I mean, there's the hatchery now coming down. So like I say, it's a 445 3rd hatch. And a game where Neeb is realistically able to just put his own 3rd Nexus down pretty much as that 3rd hatchery goes in. He didn't build it right away there. He just keeps the idea of it, you know, it could be a fake, right? Why give Reynor the guaranteed information when you could just keep him guessing at least a little bit, at least make him potentially respect that idea. Oracle moves across. 2nd Voidray is on the way, and I get the feeling we have a rough idea of where this is probably going to go for Neeb from here. You see the Roachron on the way from Reynor, and with the Lair as well. Does this just turn into an aggressive Roach-based with Queen push? Might be one of the better ways to go about this. The Oracle gets turned around instantly, though. Not going to find too much just yet. We do have our Roachron going to be finishing on the natural. We have the Twilight Council coming up on the natural as well. A couple of Voids setting up on the top side. The Feelings making their way through. They're going to run straight into a Zealot, though, so they're not going to have the best time. Turned around immediately. Roach speed and +1 missiles on the way up. 8 more drones on the way along as the Infestation Pit builds behind the natural expansion and just... I mean, I guess that's the plan. Do something a little bit out there. Is this going to be... Is this Swarm Host? Is that where we're going? Is that where we are going right now? I think it might just be where we're going to. Alright, well, we're about halfway done. It's gonna see the Swarm Hosts on the way out. I mean, honestly, I just don't know what the Swarm Hosts do against Voidrays. I get the feeling there's a reason we've not seen a lot of Swarm Hosts in the recent meta, and it's because double Stargate Voidray is very good against it. So that's going to be my belief. But I get it from Reynor. Like, you're in a bit of a weird spot. You're on low economy. If there's a style to play, a Swarm Host would generally be the one you could go to, right? It's just, is it still the choice you want to make in this given scenario? Like, I don't think it is. But I can respect that he's kind of backed into a corner. He doesn't have many decisions to make other than this. So I get the decision, but at the same time, I'm like, I guess in general, was there just ever really a good choice for him the way this game opened? Well, probably not. Does this give him the best chance to win? Well, he definitely thinks so. Queens are going to back up these Swarm Hosts. So, I mean, you can get behind that. You see this now as Neeb, so you 100% know what you're up against. Charge about to be done. You guys are Templar Archives, right? Yeah, so the High Templar are big here because Archons are going to be really important. Just the splash damage against those Locusts go a long way. Clean them up that little bit faster. The faster you clean those up, the less damage you take from those huge DPS output units. So that's massive. The first round of Locusts coming forward, there's actually a pretty reasonable stasis ward place there. He's kind of trying to bait the Locust into it, and he works perfectly. Wow. First round of Locust will not do anything at all. The bait into the stasis was good. He's like, oh, look, I'm going to, jump on my army, get a couple kills. Nope, stasis protects me. So Reynor finds nothing at all with this at the start. I'm going to see a bit of a fight over here. I like this a lot for Neeb because obviously you're fighting with the Swarm Host on cooldown, so you're missing a lot of supply from the fight, which obviously you would kind of want. Realistically, Reynor is coming up to being maxed out. Now, it's worth mentioning that obviously a maxed out Zerg in this scenario is just a little bit weaker than usual because, again, those Swarm Hosts on a timer, there's waves or surges at which the Zerg is very strong, and then there's down periods where the Swarm Hosts are on cooldown where the Zerg is just nowhere near as good. So those are important to keep in mind as well. Oh, these Swarm Hosts out the right-hand side being chased around. Locust in the main base doing well. Archons and Voids getting chased those Swarm Hosts away out the right. President setting up a few more roaches coming through. Oh my god, all these Swarm Hosts are going to die. Voids activate. He doesn't get all of them, sure, but he gets a good amount. And remember, he just killed a whole bunch of queens across the map in that previous fight too, so in general, there's just not a lot of anti-air going for Reynor. So those Voids will continue to dominate on a lot of these scenarios. Again, another reason the supply is just bloated a little bit here for Reynor is because the roach count is one of the things he has to build up into, and it's getting rather high, to be quite honest. So the roach count just keeps on increasing. That's why the supply stays high, but note that Neeb supply is getting higher and higher. Before it was like 120 versus 60 army. Now it's 134 versus 82. Comparatively, percentage-wise, Neeb's army is that much bigger than Reynor's than it was before. And honestly, this army of Reynor now is just pure Roach Ravager. Like, there is not a lot of value in this. Like, the Ravager count is good, don't get me wrong. Roach Ravager is not designed to fight 150 supply of Protoss. Roach Ravager is designed to fight like 20 supply less than this, maybe. Maybe that, and especially because the supply of Protoss is just so tech heavy. It's not like this is buffered up by Zealots or anything. This is pure Archon Immortal. Main base died earlier, remember, as you see Reynor still trying to press through. I was on a bit of a discussion earlier about how Reynor perhaps had one of the highest percentages of ESL Open Cups played versus Cups won. This is now back-to-back weeks where he's got to the finals, but maybe he doesn't come away with a victory again. Don't want to say this is over just yet, but still love Neeb's position as the Archons and Immortals come up here again. Good force fields once more, just going to get a few more kills, especially those Ravagers. Every time you see a Ravager die, it's 100 gas disappearing from the game. The battles are good though onto the Archons. But again, if you look at the supplies and you compare them to what they were earlier, it's now 124 to 70 or 80. Right? The difference in those supplies is closing. And that's the big issue. Starts on the left side, going to get a little bit more damage done, man. The Warp Prism, annoying as it is, usually has been mega annoying in this game. It's just been non-stop, and in a situation where you've just not had a lot of time to spare, a lot of units to spare, right? Reynor's been full-on aggressive across the map. Neeb is just going to attack into this again. Army supplies are what you want to look at, and it does get much closer here in favor of Neeb once again. The rebuild happens a bit faster for Reynor, but Neeb, give him a couple of moments to get his war pins out, and that army supply is going to be closer than it's ever been. For a long time at least. Roaches and Ravagers move down this ramp. The Archons still push through. The Immortals are here as well, and a couple of throws of Bowels landing down. Voidray gets taken down. There is still an Archon or two dropping. Do we want to look at resources lost? 11k to 13k. I felt like it might have been worse. I thought it might be worse for Reynor than that. Problem is, he's still working off, what, 3 bases really, because the main isn't quite back up yet. He is trying to get up to 5. This base of Neeb got denied as well, so he's only been on 3, but with the efficiency he's had, he's fine to be on 3 bases for a little while longer. I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. He's going to push this army on the right side back rather easily. Prism there saves the Archons as well. Beautiful play there, but not going well on the left-hand side. Neeb is having a little bit of a worse time than expected. The Archons especially just going down very quickly. These Zealots may just be the missing piece of the puzzle. something to come through, be that front line, be that tank, soak up these shots a little bit. +2 attack is building with the Roach Ravager. The high ground here, got files going down, Archons have to back away, Immortals in a little bit of trouble. I like this from Reynor, just a full rotation onto what was a smaller group of units. Catch Neeb a bit off guard perhaps, but now Neeb pounces back. He gets a lot of units here. That Zealot Warping is huge again. Army supply is what I'm going to point you to, 98 to 67. It's closer than it's been before. Resources lost continues to improve ever so slightly, more and more so into Neeb's favor, ticking over 2,000 difference now. Good force fields, decent biles in return. It feels like the units didn't die there. A few units that were force fielded forward. Zealots on the counter attack. Just something to once again pull this Zerg army back, take Reynor's attention away, make him look back at home. Anytime he's not on the front line here, it's given Neeb more time to catch up on that army supply, create a bigger and better army. The bigger that his army gets, the better it's going to trade against what Reynor's working with here. Zealots even just back away. They know they've done their job of forcing units to respond to this, so they just back off, wait for another opportunity perhaps. I'm fine with that. RoboBay coming through. You know, credit to Reynor. I've been kind of dictating this game as though it's about to end any moment in favor of Neeb, but Reynor's found better fights than expected. He's found opportunities, moments like this, jumping in on a couple of units is the kind of reason he's still in this game. And he's found a chance to get up toward Hive Tech at least. I like that Neeb made his own decision to tech up as well, though. That RoboBay Disruptor is absolutely going to be massive in this scenario, right? You're playing Disruptors into a Roach Ravager force that's constantly trying to attack through chokes into you. I think it makes a lot of sense to expect a... I think it makes a lot of sense to expect kind of a Disruptors to kind of put an end to a lot of this aggression of Reynor. And then, how well does this game continue to go for you? Love the little Roach attack to the right side. Batteries and a cannon will try and fight it. Stasis Ward caught a few units. Units warping in there as well, checking on in a moment, because this army is still pushing forward. The Ravagers getting beat down by the Archons. Roaches are going to run by. Again, anything you can do to make this complicated. I gotta say, Neeb's army supply has dropped off big time. And, you know, Reynor's freaking good at this game, and maybe I really did count him out way too soon. I just didn't want to fall victim to believing too much in the, you know, in the army supplies when it's Roaches in play. He loses the first Disruptor Neeb. That's a big mistake. Those Disruptors are meant to be the tech up, which is meant to make your life easier, but if you lose one for free, I mean, that's a big investment. As Reynor still just throws lower tech units at you. 10 workers going down as well. The harassment in the main base adding up. So now Neeb's losing economy that he's been pretty much just reliant on, obviously, throughout this. 63 workers. Reynor on 81. He got up to 5 bases as well. Man, Neeb's going to lose, isn't he? It's over. He's going to lose these Immortals. Super Battery's going to get shot down. Disruptor gets biled, actually. Good biles. I don't know why you would pick to shoot the Disruptor down than the Battery, but it actually worked out. Wow, what a game from Reynor. That's actually incredible. I'm kind of flabbergasted. What a game from Reynor. I would not change anything I said about this game. I truly believe that Neeb was doing just fine. I truly believed it was looking good for him. He was trading a bit better. He was keeping that trend going. Just towards the very end, he's not been able to keep it up, and Reynor's going to get the units to break on through. Maybe not just yet, but the reinforcements definitely should be able to. 9 Ravagers morph in, and gotta say, a lot of the battles was maybe the issue. You know, Neeb was very much so losing a lot of Archons running into these positions, and maybe if you just sit back and text into the Disruptors a little quicker, maybe he had the safety or the freedom to do that, and maybe that could have made his life so much easier. With the Vipers here, you know what's happening. Abduct, but the Abduct was late. It's dead center, doesn't matter. Reynor has enough. GGs are called. Damn, what a turnaround from Reynor. I've got nothing else to add, guys. What a turnaround from Reynor. What a freaking awesome game from him.